Hey everybody, this is this week's tiara, and I tried to record this once, but I could hear my kids, I could hear the background noise, so let's try this again. So I started this tiara this week for PhilCon, the virtual convention, and they had me do a tiara demo on Saturday. And what I did this time was to kind of go through the process of what I do to make a tiara and just really what it's going to look like with all of these pieces. So I just lay them out and then I show them one by one as to how I think things go together, what they work really well with, what crystals I'm going to use, and just kind of talk through it myself. And that's kind of the process that I have for all of my tiaras. So this week, because last week was fire and the week before was water with the mermaid tiara, I thought I would do earth. And I got these beautiful stones in, which pick up the light so nice. And this is definitely an earth stone for me. So I thought this would be the great focal point for this tiara, and that's kind of where I started. And of course, for me, I mean, you could probably go with silver. So a lot of people like silver, but I thought these bronzes and coppers were really earthy to me. So that's how I started. So this piece right here is a pendant piece, and that's what I started with, this piece on top. But I felt like it needed some height, so I added in this piece, and I had these spires that I knew were going to go over the side, but I needed a little bit more. I needed something to pull these two pieces together. So what I did was I put another piece behind. So how I started was I started wiring on this piece, which I can show. It's wired on into the two spots on this piece. I have a silver one right here, so you can see they have these two holes, and that makes it perfect for wiring. So that was wired on, and then these were glued on top on the back so that you got that shape. And then I glued on the stone itself with a 5-minute epoxy. And then I started wiring. I started wiring the points and got all of that on. And then as I was looking at it, I felt like it probably needed something else at the bottom. And so I had these leaves, and they were just a resin leaf that is like a clear resin. And I thought it needed something to kind of make it stand out more. So what I did was I took my handy dandy, this is Pistachio Alcohol ink, and I kind of dabbed it on, and then I used a what is this? This is a Epoxy Candy, the wet powder pigments, and this is in copper. And this is something that they had. So I kind of used it like rub and buff, where I rubbed it along the edges of the leaves, if you can see that. And I just wired these all on. So wired on this piece, glued on this piece, glued on this piece, glued on this, and then wired all the other pieces and components on the first round. And then I went through and I used crystals and beads along the bottom and wired on the leaves at the same time. Once it was done, I painted the leaves to match the tiara. And then finally, we put on the crystals. And these crystals are beautiful. You can see they kind of pick up greens and coppers and golds in there with whatever light it is. And I just thought that they went really well. That internal fire is something that I really look in for these stones and crystals, and these definitely had them. So I also stuck them on these pieces as well. Because it was a demo, I just used a silver base, which normally I would use like a gold or a copper, which is another reason why I thought these leaves needed to be there, because it was obvious to me that it didn't really match the tiara. Now you're not going to see these when I put it on because it's too far back, but I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be seen. So this is the tiara. Let me turn it around, and it's got the wiring all around here. It's all wired on, and the leaves move just a little bit just for some interest because we don't want them too tight, but they're pretty stable on there. And then of course all the little beads on the edge. But that's this week's tiara.